All right, welcome back. We've reached the end of our journey through Jean Bonjour's Realities of Life. And today, we're tackling the big one. Key 10, make the world better because you lived. This is all about purpose, about legacy, about finding meaning and leaving things a little better than we found them. Let's dive right in.
So, let's start with a huge question, one we all probably think about, right? What really makes a life meaningful? Is it the job title, the bank account, or is it something deeper? To get our heads around this, we're going to follow the story of a guy who was asking himself that very same question. So, first up, let's meet our guy. He's caught in a trap that I think a lot of us can relate to. That constant, relentless chase for more in the corporate world. It's a race that, as he's about to find out, doesn't really have a finish line. Okay, so this is Alex. He lives in San Francisco, and his entire world has basically shrunk to the size of his office. His life is all about climbing that ladder. And the main way he measures success, beating his colleague Jake to the next promotion. It's this non-stop, day-in, day-out competition.
But, that kind of laser focus, it comes at a price. The pressure was just eating him alive, hollowing out every other part of his life. He'd get home totally drained, and his apartment just felt cold, empty. His whole life started to feel incredibly small, almost suffocating.
So, totally burned out and feeling lost, Alex does something pretty out of character. He ends up wandering into a place he hasn't been to in years, and he stumbles upon a piece of wisdom that is about to change everything for him. Picture this. It's a Sunday morning, and he is just completely spent. On an impulse, he walks into a church. The pastor there, Pastor Thomas, takes one look at him, and you can just tell he sees how exhausted Alex is. And for the first time, Alex is just brutally honest. He says it out loud, "I feel like I'm trapped, like I'm in a race that just never, ever ends." And the pastor's response is what hits him like a ton of bricks. He doesn't just offer some empty platitudes. He shares his own story about a near-death experience that completely rewired how he saw the world. And he tells Alex, "I stopped chasing success for its own sake and started living for connection and service." Wow, that one sentence just hangs in the air.
Now here's the interesting part. Armed with this totally new way of thinking, Alex doesn't make some huge, dramatic change. He doesn't quit his job and join the Peace Corps. No, the change starts way smaller, in the little moments of his day he used to completely ignore.
So he goes back to his life, but he starts seeing it for the first time. He actually notices the barista who always gets his coffee order right. He sees his coworkers not as rivals, but as actual people, laughing and joking. He even takes a second to just watch the sunset. The world was always there. He just finally started paying attention. And the shift was night and day. Before, he was that guy screaming at other drivers in traffic. Now, he finds himself wondering if maybe that person is rushing to the hospital. Before, his whole mission was to crush Jake. Now, he offers to help him with a difficult project, with absolutely no strings attached. That constant need for something in return, it just faded away.
And here's the kicker. About a week later, his boss pulls him into his office. Alex thinks it's about his sales numbers, but it's not. His boss praises him because his new attitude, his willingness to help, it had lifted the morale of the entire team. He was creating a better workplace, and people noticed.
Alex is just blown away by this. So he goes back to the pastor and asks, "How did I miss this before?" And the pastor gives him this perfect metaphor. He says, "We are fish in water. We forget the miracle of the water itself. We're so immersed in the everyday miracle of life and connection that we take it for granted. We don't even see it."
This personal shift that Alex went through, it connects to a much, much bigger idea. It's about realizing that just being here, right now, is an absolutely profound and special thing.
I want you to try and wrap your head around this number. Some scientists have tried to calculate the odds of you being born with your unique DNA at this specific point in human history. The number they came up with is somewhere in the ballpark of 1 in 400 trillion. It's not just unlikely, it is a straight-up statistical miracle. And that's the core of what Pastor Thomas tells Alex. You've already won the biggest lottery there is. The grand prize is your life. So the real question is, what are you going to do with that winning ticket? Are you just going to let it sit in your pocket? You see how this just flips the whole script? So often we act like life is something we're owed, something we're entitled to. But when you start to see it as a gift, this incredibly precious, improbable grant, well then, it comes with a kind of responsibility, doesn't it? A responsibility to take care of it.
Now, Alex's discovery, it's not just a nice, feel-good story. It turns out this idea is backed by decades of solid research into what actually makes us humans tick, what makes us feel fulfilled.
What's so amazing is that modern science completely confirms this ancient wisdom. You look at things like the Harvard Grant Study, one of the longest studies on happiness ever done, and the conclusions are crystal clear. Lasting fulfillment doesn't come from status or money. It comes from serving others, from having meaningful relationships, and from actually being present in your own life. Alex didn't just find a new mood. He tapped into a fundamental truth about being human.
And this isn't just about our own personal happiness. I mean, think about it. Every major social movement in history didn't start with some big headline. It started with ordinary people deciding to do small things, acts of kindness and courage, repeated over and over and over until they became unstoppable.
So let's just boil this all down, right? Being present, actually paying attention, that gives you the power to see what needs to be done. Service to others, that's how you build a real legacy. And love, in its biggest sense, empathy, connection, care, that is the ultimate measure of your impact on this world.
Okay, so this brings the whole thing right back to us, here and now. We've heard Alex's story, we've talked about the big ideas, so how do we actually make this real in our own lives?
Well, the good news is it's not that complicated. You don't need some grand 5-year plan to build a legacy. It starts today. It starts small. Help someone without them having to ask. Give your time. Teach someone a skill you have. Advocate for a person or a cause. Volunteer. Forgive someone. These are the bricks you use to build a meaningful life.
And so we end right back where we started, but hopefully with a totally new perspective. This is the question that Key 10 really leaves us with. It's not about being famous. It's not about being perfect. It's about deciding that this wild, improbable, miraculous gift of a life you have is going to be used in ways big and small to leave the world just a little bit brighter than you found it. Thank you so much for joining us for this entire series.